Hello, I'm Pradesh Prasad, and I'm in a group with Chris Ryback and Charlie Dietrich. We will be talking about the Case-Shiller Index. The Case-Shiller Index is an index for home prices that is maintained by Standards& and Poor. It is organized at the national level in the United States, at a 10-city level, a 20-city level, and a 20 metro area level, which each carry indices of its own. Data for these indices are sourced from repeat sales of single-family homes in specific areas, namely either metro or specific cities. The index scores are normalized at 100, and scores between 100 and 120 are considered normal post-World War II. Any number higher than 120, for example 160, indicates a rising home price level. It is also considered a more objective index compared to others, such as the House Affordability Index, which is maintained by the National Association of Realtors. This index may be considered biased because it is essentially in the favor of the realtors to skew businesses in their direction, therefore presenting a conflict of interest. The seasonal adjustment component of the statistics really is the statistical method for removing the seasonal component of a time series that is used when analyzing non-seasonal trends. The housing market, for example, generally slows down during the winter months and ramps up during the spring months. Depending on geographical locations, this could be because of simply the holiday season and the flurry of activity that revolves around that, or for the fact that homebuyers generally would like to see the house for the very first time in, let's say, a sunny setting, as opposed to being snowed in, or just consider logistics getting to the house, and so on. The rise and fall of house prices contributes to a relatively small variation in the mean value for home values in a certain location. I will now pass on the next part of the presentation to Chris.
Thank you, Pradesh. I would like to start off by talking about the corresponding positive relationship with the overall status of the U.S. economy and housing prices. Now, the housing crisis was an event which encompassed all of this positive relationship, basically. This was an event when financial institutions provided subprime mortgages to people who would generally not qualify. The ease of which these home loans were given basically corresponds to the demand increase because more people were able to buy houses, therefore there was a higher demand. Higher demand meant higher prices due to basic supply and demand principles. Due to these rising prices, there was an expectation formed that prices would just keep rising. This led to a blind faith in homeownership as a formidable investment. Reckless investments by the aforementioned financial institutions led to the stock market crash in 2008. This led to the populace defaulting on their loans, which resulted in the decrease in home prices and the end of the housing bubble. Therefore, as this event encompassed all of America, and the rest of the world for that matter, it follows in the accompanying slides that the three cities focused on in this case study follow a similar trend which accompanies the overall U.S. economic status. As you can see, The housing prices reached their peak around 2006, similar to the US economy. They reached their lowest point of the index around 2012, also similar to the US economy. All three cities are now in a state of recovery, but only Las Vegas had to recover from a weaker point than its original score in 2000. In reality, this means that housing prices in Las Vegas are not at the same point of recovery. It follows that in cases like Las Vegas, underwater mortgages were more prevalent than their more stable counterparts. Underwater mortgages occur when the balance of the loan is greater than the current value of the house. Now, all of these concepts may be complicated in theory, but it really comes down to the real-world application, which I have described. These slides indicate the trend which I have been speaking about, in the case of Los Angeles and also in the case of San Francisco. And in the next portion of our presentation, Charlie will analyze the concept of regression. So without further ado, here's Charlie.
And what we see from this slide, talking about the regression analysis price index versus the unemployment rate, is between the three cities. We took the unemployment rates for these three cities from 2005 to 2014 and compared them to the price indexes. Now, just looking at the price indexes, we saw that the data kind of fluctuated with how the economy was rolling, which means, from 2000 to around 2007, the price indexes kept on increasing because of the bustling economy and all that good stuff. And then after 2007, we saw a massive drop in the average price index for all three of the cities and predictably around the entire United States because of the economy tanking. Now, and then after that, the steady increase as the economy began to recover till what we have in now, today's terms. Now, we took the unemployment rates of these three cities and compared them, and predictably, we saw that as the unemployment rate went up, the price index went down, which gives it a negative correlation. Because, as negative correlation states, if one product goes up and the other one goes down, that's obviously a negative relationship. However, this unemployment rate also depicts the happenings of the economy, because as you can tell, and as I'm sure we all felt, as the economic standing of the United States decreased, unemployment rates increased because of the lack of jobs and the lack of money being pumped in the economy, which gives us the recession that occurred in 2007 and 2008. So predictably, as the unemployment rates went up because of this recession, people, therefore, obviously, there's less people with jobs, so there's less people making money, which means people are being a lot tighter with how they spend their money, not wanting to go out there and invest in the housing market like they were before. This causes, home builders to have to sell their houses at much lower prices than they previously had planned, and even, they're having to sell these houses for less money than it costs to build them, which obviously, if anyone knows that's not a good business strategy. So, but since people have less money to spend, they're obviously not spending at homes. The price of these homes is dropping, which thusly causes the index to drop. So, as we see the unemployment rate get really high on some of these graphs, like for example in Los Angeles, the 12% unemployment rate for the city causes the index to be right around 160 or so, while when the unemployment rate was only 4 or 5%, the index was all the way up to 260. So, anywhere between an 8% swing of the unemployment rate
can be as much as 100 points in the index itself, which is huge when you think of, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these homes. And before the recession, people were buying these homes willy-nilly, trying to catch the upward swing of the housing market so that they can sell them, flip them a little bit, or even just sit on them and sell them for a much higher profit because the housing market was just going through the roof. Now we see the opposite effect of that, the housing market's going down, so these people are just trying to get rid of their houses and come to meet the needs of the people who may not have jobs, so therefore can't spend as much money. So that's kind of what we're seeing with regression, is, as you can see, all three of them have this downward slope because, predictably, as the unemployment rate goes up, the price index and the availability of people to spend certain amounts of money goes down on the homes.
This concludes our presentation on the Case-Shiller Index. We as a group hope that you have found this presentation to be constructive and informative. Thank you for your time.